tight schedule, so we'll get started. My name is Tony Huey, and I'm the chair of the board of Debating SA, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you all to the 2013 Debating Grand Final for Year 9. Today is the conclusion of another great season of competition in our association. And I congratulate and thank all debaters who've taken part in 2013. I do hope that along the way, all the debaters, that you learned and improved a range of skills in areas such as research and analysis, clear thinking, often under considerable pressure, teamwork, seeing different perspectives, particularly if you have to argue a point of view that you don't necessarily agree with, developing confidence in speaking in front of your peers and a whole group of strangers and parents. And very importantly, I hope that you had a great sense of fun and enjoyment through the year. Our association remains committed to promoting and supporting debating as a very valuable skill for young people to develop. This year we've had a record number of over 170 teams representing 47 schools across the 3 sectors of education, with some 780 students having participated, and that's fantastic. We're very honoured to continue to have the support and patronage of the Governor of South Australia, Rear Admiral Kevin Scares. I thank James Tran and Sonia Lowen for their unstinting commitment and hard work in organising and running our program throughout the year, as well as providing much needed training and resources for schools. I thank the army of parents, you, coaches, teachers, adjudicators, families and helpers who have provided support in various ways and come out in cold, dark, miserable winter nights. Our host schools this year have been Adelaide High School, Pulteney Grammar School, Grange Primary School, Nazareth College and Pembroke School. I thank all those schools for so generously making available their facilities, and I look forward to seeing everyone back in debating in 2014. I thank our major sponsor, Community CPS Australia, who make so much of what we do possible. They provide in particular the trophies that are awarded for the divisions in the finals. And finally, what better place to hear our top debaters than in our own House of Assembly here in the Parliament of South Australia. This stands as very much a powerful symbol of democracy and free speech, and you'd all rather be here today than at the show or at the football. Debating is a very wonderful activity, and I hope that, I really do hope that those who have taken part this year will continue to take part next year and for many years to come. I also want to thank the Honourable Chloe Fox, Minister for Bright, and her parliamentary colleagues from this House for allowing us to use this facility today. 2 reminders to debaters, please. Don't press the buttons on the microphones. The staff here get a bit picky if you broadcast that through the whole building. And secondly, can I ask debaters please to stand in front of the lectern, because it just makes it easier for you to project, and we are filming the grand final. So do speak up. We don't have a microphone for the chamber, but being parliamentarians or potential parliamentarians, you'll be able to raise your voice and lift the roof. So all the very best to our 2 grand final teams this morning. I'm sure we're in for a very enjoyable and engaging exchange of ideas. So without further ado, good luck and let the debate begin.
2013 Year 9 Division Debating Essay Grand Final Debate. The topic of this debate is that modern art has merit. Hoping to convince you of the truth of this morning's topic is the affirmative team from Glenunga International High School, consisting of the first speaker, Divya Narayan, second speaker, Nafel Krishnan, and the third speaker, Jennifer Nyo. Trying to show you that this morning's topic is false is the negative team from Unley High School, consisting of the first speaker, Jack Cheshire, second speaker, Johnson Lee, and the third speaker, Isaac Deal Swift. This grand final debate will be judged by a panel of 5 adjudicators who are Mr. Lachlan Hemsley, Mr. Lachlan Hamlin, Mr. Lily Hirsch, Mrs. Stephanie Ford, and Ms. Toy Lee. The speaking time of this debate is 5 minutes. A single warning bell will sound at 4 minutes, and a double bell will sound at 5 minutes. I ask that all mobile phones be switched off during the duration of this debate. I declare this debate open and call upon Divya Narayan to open the affirmative case.
Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and fellow debaters, and welcome to tonight's debate. The topic for tonight's debate is that modern art has merit, and we, the affirmative team, strongly agree with this statement. We, as the affirmative team, define modern art as a method incorporating abstract expression which prevailed during the end of the 19th century, and take merit, in this context, to mean a worthy enterprise possessing a certain characteristic in relation to the human spirit. As first speaker, I will be talking to you about the development of art over time and its impacts, as well as how modern art still has meaning. My second speaker will talk about how modern art effectively conveys ideas, encourage interaction between art and audience, and perceptual metamorphosis. Now to my first point. Art presents itself in countless forms, from pottery to sketching to painting and even sculpting. It is one of the most historic and beautiful forms of creativity known to man, and is one of the most important terms in human life. The timeline of art is one that is extremely broad, as its sub-branches include methods, cultures, styles, and even categories, such as dance. Art can be traced back so far that it was discovered even before language, and is thought to have begun 40,000 years ago. Some of the most impacting artists include Michelangelo and Leonardo, who painted during the early Renaissance in 1400 to 1550, to artists such as Monet and Van Gogh during the Impressionist and Post-Impressionist era. Some recognizable artwork have come from this, such as the Water Lilies and Starry, Starry Night. During the Romanticist era, people believed they were expressing individuality through the replication of landscapes and paintings. We are not saying that this era did not encourage expressionism, but we are saying that modern art has developed over time to transform from expressing through landscape into more abstract paintings, which also developed creativity. During this expressionist era, artists and artwork began to develop into more creative and abstract pieces of art, as people began to realize the world was more than just landscapes and could be represented in more creative ways. Not only did this era bring upon a new creativity and new ideas to the world, they also influenced and encouraged people to look at things in a different light. This does not affect our perception of historic art, as it played a vital role as what we know now to be modern art, being creative in an abstract form. This relates back to our team's definition of merit, as well as we stated that modern art possesses certain characteristics, which proves that it has merit. Secondly, art does not simply lose meaning over time. Many people have a notion that since modern art is more abstract in its way of expressing emotion, that it is pointless and doesn't have any meaning. One example of this is Marco Overazzi, who is an who is an installation artist and had an exhibition which portrayed blenders with a goldfish in each. Now, it was in fact one of the people witnessing the artwork that pressed the button, thus killing the goldfish. Now, this may be seen as a gruesome gesture to animals and as a provocative act, and many people may argue that this is a reflection of modern art, but this is a false accusation. This piece could be representing the curiosity in the nature of humans. This man was not obliged to press the button, but did so anyways due to a curiosity in the human spirit. This comparison to human curiosity corresponds to our definition of merit, a worthy enterprise possessing a certain characteristic in relation to a human spirit, and in this case, curiosity. This is how modern art expresses emotions and takes a human spirit in a different aspect. It is suspenseful and creative in a strange and engaging sense. So to conclude, ladies and gentlemen, we, the affirmative team, strongly believe that modern artwork certainly has merit. The reasons I have argued are that modern art is a new representation developed over history, and purely because it is abstract does not mean it loses value or the message conveyed is lost. I will end my speech with a quote from the infamous Pablo Picasso. Art washes away from the soul the dust of our everyday lives. Thank you.
I call upon Jack Cheshire to open the negative case.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for today's debate is that modern art has merit. And we, the negative team, believe this statement to be totally false. I now must take the time to point out some flaws in the opposition's argument. Firstly, we disagree with the affirmative team's definitions and offer our own in their place. We have defined modern as of the present or recent times in current fashion, art as the expression of human creativity in a visual form, and merit as seen as particularly good by a majority and cross-section of our culture. The affirmative team have insisted that this is quite the contrary, and we believe that this was to note the intention of, not the intention of the debate. In this title of the debate, modern art was published in all lowercase letters. It was not italicised, and nor was it given quotation marks. In issue 2, 2013 of Debating Essays newsletter, debaters are advised to look for these things as indicators for the topic's intention. As they were lacking, we believe that the words modern and art were supposed to be defined separately. Today, I'll be talking to you about how modern art cannot express itself and therefore cannot have merit, and how the message or intention of a piece may have merit, but that does not mean that the art itself does. Our second speaker will be talking about how merit comes with time and that controversy is not conducive to merit, and our third speaker will be summarising our debate. The first point I would like to discuss is how modern art fails to express itself in our current culture. If we were to put a purpose on art, I do believe it would be agreed upon that that purpose is quite simply expression. This is all well and good, but if one were to stop and look at any piece of modern art, they would at least notice that it was so horrendously obtuse that the message would be completely lost to them. Modern art cannot express itself to an audience without extensive explanation. It's close to having a child explain why all the errors on their homework assignment was meant to be there for some profound reason or another. If the artwork was to be taken completely out of context and the audience would not be made aware of what it was about, I would seriously doubt that many people would even get halfway and think that it was art at all. As American art commentator Dave Hickey said, it used to be that if you stood in front of a painting that you didn't understand, you'd be under some obligation to guess. Well, now you don't. He was so sickened by the transition of the art community to modern art that in October 2012, he announced he was quitting the world of art, condemning the tourist mentality of the modern art industry. This is not to say that these pieces cannot have merit in the future. It's just to say that it does not reflect the current culture that we live in. It simply is not understood by our current society and therefore cannot be seen as particularly good. It has no merit. My second point is about how the messages present in modern art is what is meritorious rather than the art itself. Take this cue card. What were to happen if I were to scrunch it up and call it art? What if I were to say that I was trying to visually express the disposability of words in our current society? The message itself may have merit, as it is of an insight into our culture, a social commentary, or so to speak. But is this art itself believed by a majority and cross-section of society to be particularly good? Of course not. I just scrunched up a piece of paper and threw it on the ground. An action that many people themselves have done countless times. It was simply that I was the first to call it art. What I'm trying to say here is that adding some kind of external reference does not give modern art in itself merit. If a painting is made with no skill nor obvious message, it cannot be made particularly good simply by deep and good intentions. As it is said, the road to failure is paved with good intentions. If we're assessing the art itself, then the explanation for the piece must be left out. Clearly, any great or meritorious work of art need not have itself explained. If it can stand alone, it stands alone, and it has to, for that is all it can have when it faces the test of time. In conclusion, I have clearly shown that modern art has no merit due to the fact that it cannot communicate itself, and having explained externally does not add merit to the art piece itself. I will leave you with a quote from Ellsworth Kelly, an American painter and sculptor who said, "I noticed that the large windows between the paintings in the Musée d'Art Moderne interested me more than the art that was exhibited there. From then on, the painting as I had known it was finished for me." Thank you.
To continue the affirmative case, please welcome the fellow Charlie.
Good morning, ladies, gentlemen, Mr. Chairman, and fellow debaters. The topic for this morning's debate is that modern art has merit. We, as the affirmative team, believe this statement to be true. The first negative has disagreed with our definition, and he said that they have taken modern art as two separate words. We believe that the most common definition of modern art is abstract representation that became the prevailing expression at the end of the 19th century to present day. We took this as a phrase and not two separate words. He also said that modern art was not understood by today's society, but modern art reflects the society we live in, and the audience gives their own meaning to the artwork. Out of context, we don't believe this can truly be called art. Once we enter a gallery, the art takes on a mind of its own, as I will explain in my speech. Conceptual thought is what makes the art. We give meaning to the art. That piece of paper wasn't accepted by the art world. And it's fine to say that anyone can do modern art, but it's like saying anyone can speak French, but only if you know French. We believe that the conceptual thought is what gives modern art merit. Now, my first speaker has put modern art in its historical context and explained how modern art will not lose its meaning over time. For my arguments today, I will be discussing the expressive nature of modern art, the interactive element of modern art, and the perceptual metamorphosis that occurs when a piece of artwork is accepted as art. Now, for my first argument, I will be talking about the expressive nature of art. Now, who here would seriously argue that Picasso's work has no merit? As an expression of the human spirit, his paintings still resonate with us today. Who was left unmoved by his depiction of the massacre of Guernica, painted in 1937 in response to the fascist atrocity during the Spanish Civil War? Was it representational in the strict sense of the word? No. Does it still speak to our very souls? Certainly. And this is the point. Aristotle said that the aim of art is to represent not the outward appearance of things, but their inward significance. The art world has moved on from an audience just appreciating the representational skill of an artist. The audience is now central to the process of giving the art meaning. My second argument focuses on the role of the audience in modern art. For example, if we explore some of the controversial pieces that Damien Hirst displayed in formaldehyde, one may recall The Dead Sheep and Shark. In the words of the art critic David Bussell, Damien Hirst's work is an examination of the process of life and death, the ironies, falsehoods, and desires that we mobilize to negotiate our own alienation and mortality. While viewing his work, one would bring their own experiences and knowledge to create their own meaning to the artwork. When we look at Damien Hirst's dissected cow, titled Some Comfort Gained in the Acceptance of the Inherent Lies in Everything, we are confronted by notions of revulsion. However, we think of dinner when we see the same animal presented to us in a butcher shop. Conceptual thought only adds to the merit of modern art. The whole point of this is that the commonplace is literally transfigured when we cross into the art world. The fact that modern art encourages thought and involves the audience means that it definitely has merit. Now to my third and final argument. Ordinary artifacts can become magical objects when we are in the gallery. It is a change in perspective we accept when we see something as art. Perceptual metamorphosis occurs where we create a meaning in conjunction with the artist. We willingly suspend our disbelief when we cross the doors of the gallery, in the same way as when we read a work of fiction or watch a play. In this way, the institution of art is vital in creating the objective merit of art. Art schools, critics, gallery owners, patrons, and artists themselves guarantee that what we are seeing has the merit to be judged as art. It could be magnificent, indifferent, confronting, or even bad, but it is art. Subjective opinions, such as the ones expressed by many critics of modern art, are valid, but do not take away from the objective merit we give to art in society. The fact that it reflects the disjointed nature of our society is not the fault of the artists and does not take away from the merit of modern art. Because modern art is presented as art, it gives it meaning and objective merit in the artistic world. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I hope I have convinced you of the merit of modern art with my arguments of the expressive and inclusive nature of art and the change in perception that occurs when we enter a gallery. As Adorno, a German philosopher, said, the task of art today is to bring chaos into order.
To continue the negative case, please welcome Johnson, please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Chairman, today our debate is that modern art has merit. We as the negative team believe this statement is true and is false. Today, our first speaker, Jack, has spoken to you about how modern art cannot express itself and therefore cannot have merit, and how the message of a piece may have merit, but the art itself have none. Today, I will talk to you how time changed the merit of an art and how fame does not equal merit. And our third speaker will summarize up the debate. The opposition had said that people define modern art as a phrase, and this is definitely not true, because if you go to the street and ask people, what is modern art? Most people would believe that modern art is art that is made in present or recent times. The opposition also said the meaning of art is what is behind the image, it's the meaning of that art piece. This is not true, because the art cannot speak. The only way to understand what the art is trying to tell us is to read, is to study the art piece. Then if we couldn't even understand the image, how can we understand the meaning behind it? Today, my first point is that merit can only come in time. Like our first speaker had said, modern art piece has always been controversial in today's society. Even though some people do believe it is art, the rest strongly disagrees. On the other hand, if we look back onto the history of art pieces like Mona Lisa by Da Vinci, the Les Demoiselles and Glenunga by Pablo Picasso, the Great Waves of Kanagawa by Japanese artist Hokusai. All of these art have been recognized to have merit in today's society. Then, what is the difference between them and modern art? I believe the difference is time. These artworks have existed over hundreds of years, and the time has proved them worthy and meritorious. Well, on the other hand, artwork that have been created today are new and hard to be recognized with. Maybe after 50, 100 years and the art can still be recognized with, then maybe it will have merit. But remember, the topic is that modern art has merit, which is in present tense. And just like I explained, modern art cannot be judged now as it needs time to judge its merit. A good example of this is the famous Vincent van Gogh. He produced more than 2,000 works during his lifetime, approximately 900 paintings and 1,100 drawings and sketches. Although he's now considered one of the most greatest artists of all time, he was undervalued and only sold one painting during his lifetime. From that you can see Meritorious work shines only after it has withstand the challenge of time. My second point today is that controversy around the modern art. Some people said modern art has merit because it is well known in our society. The truth is, however, the modern art has its fame, but not because it has merit, but the controversy around the art. Have you ever heard of Peace Christ? A picture of plastic graphics that is submerged by urine done by Angelo Serino? This mind-striking piece of art had become well known not only because of its horrendous content, but also it was considered as art and it was later purchased by the National Endowment for Art. The famous Blue Pole by Jackson Pollock is another controversial art that enraged the majority of the society when white land government supported the purchase of this art. So ladies and gentlemen, although many people think that if an artwork is famous, it must be meritorious, it is not. The merit of art is not judged by its fame, but of being particularly good and memorable as judged by the bulk of the society. A very recent example of art being controversial and not meritorious was discussed in the Adelaide Sunday Mail last Sunday, the 15th September. It relates to well-known photographer Bill Henson and his photographs of naked 13-year-old girls. In 2008, Sydney exhibition was raided by New South Wales police as there was complaints from the public about Bill Henson's work. A Sydney Mail columnist, David Penberthy, wrote, "The great math of suburban response that Henson was a weirdo whose photo looked like child porn." Politicians from Prime Minister Kevin Rudd declared the photographs were absolutely revolting. You see, Henson said his work is a kind of modern art. And ladies and gentlemen, his work is definitely controversial and definitely have no merit. Tonight, I have explained to you that modern art has no merit because merit can only be measured in time, and many modern art have controversial rather than meritorious. So ladies and gentlemen, I have convinced you that modern art has no merit. Thank you.
To conclude the affirmative case, I call upon Jennifer No.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that modern art has merit. We, not just as the affirmative team, but as a team who have done the research and come to an informed opinion, believe that this statement is true. So obviously we've run into a definition altercation in this debate. The first negative speaker attempted to define modern and art separately, which is all true and good, but in his arguments and the second speaker's arguments, they're both using our definition of modern art, which is abstract representation. Furthermore, it's not completely relevant. That's not the most relevant definition that could be employed, which is ours, because when people are discussing modern art, they are discussing the abstract representationism, just as they are tonight. They also attempted to define merit as considered good by a majority. However, this is untrue. Just because something is considered good by a majority doesn't necessarily mean that it is good. Furthermore, before I go specifically into their team split, all of the arguments that the negative team is making are subjective. They're all subjective statements with nothing to back it up. However, our definition, not just our definition, but our arguments are arguing the objective side of the debate, and the subjectivity of their arguments undermines their arguments. So the first speaker said that modern art can't express itself because it is obtuse. Firstly, this is a subjective statement. Saying all modern art is obtuse is simply not true. Let's say we agree with their definition, though, that the majority must consider it good. Therein lies the beauty of modern art, that it involves audience interpretation. They have said that the majority dislikes modern art or that they don't understand it. But who has made that statement? How are they backing that up? Furthermore, it should be judged in its aims, effectiveness, and quality. The first speaker has moved to his second point, which is that he tried to separate the message of art from art itself, it ignores the reality of the situation. You can't remove the message of art from art itself. It undermines everything that art stands for. The intent of modern art, calling it art, and authorial intention, they matter. When you judge art, you need to do it in its context, and that's what the art institution does. It is saying that destroys the very essence of modern art itself. The second speaker said that merit of art has to have time for it to be merit, but this is simply not a true statement. Furthermore, they used Picasso and Vincent van Gogh as examples of spectacular art. Pablo Picasso and Vincent van Gogh were modern artists. They did their art in the 1900s, which is about 100 years. And that defeats their argument, as if artwork that has been around for 100 years can have merit, then so can the merit of the artwork that's happened tens of years ago. When does the line stop? The second speaker also talked to you about how the merit of modern art isn't its fame, it isn't its controversy, which we agree with, but we haven't made any claims that controversy equals the merit of the art. What we're saying is the message of the art is what is important. You can't say that Picasso, Vincent van Gogh, Andy Warhol, and Henry Matisse will not withstand the test of time, and that their messages aren't important. Our first speaker today has focused on modern art and history, talking about how it allowed artists to express themselves through an abstract way and revolutionise the way we think of art today. She also talked to you about, despite its name, modern art is timeless. Our second speaker focused on the significance of modern art standing by itself. She talked to you about how it is very expressionistic. It conveys feelings, thoughts, and inward significance, as opposed to just representational skills. She also talked to you about how it encourages audience interaction. Her last point was that the presence of art in a gallery gives it objective credibility from the art institution, as well as transforming the art into a different light by its audience, a concept called perceptual metamorphosis. In 1950, Jackson Pollock said, "The strangeness will wear off, and I think we will discover the deeper meanings in modern art." And maybe he was biased. Maybe the strangeness hasn't completely worn off, but it just takes an objective look for us to know that he was right. It would be ignorant for all of us, to dismiss the merits of modern art.
Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, the topic of today's debate is that modern art has merit, and we, the negative team, strongly disagree with this statement. Before summarising our team's case, I would like to take the time to point out some misleading statements made by the opposition. They have said that we've been using their definition of modern art in our debate. We haven't. They did not define modern art as being abstract art. They defined it as being art from a historical period in the 19th century. We were talking about art that has been painted in recent times, and a lot of that is abstract. And if you spoke to most people on the street, not people who are art critics and the elites of this field, they would say, yes, modern art is art that has been done recently, because that's what it sounds like. And again, we maintain it was not in italics, nor did it have capital letters. These are the things that teams are supposed to look for when interpreting a topic. They've said that we've used Van Gogh and Picasso furthering their case. However, we were using them as examples of artists whose art was hated at the time, but has come to be loved, showing that merit is tested by time, not by what people think when it's first painted. They also made a comment about merit and how it shouldn't be assessed by a majority of society. Okay then, how do you propose we assess it? If we do not have a standard, then we'll argue all day over what's subjective. There'll always be some hack who thinks my scrunched up first speaker's card had merit. There'll always be some humbug who thinks the Mona Lisa lacks it. The point here is that without the standard, there is no way of discussing whether art has merit, whether it has it or not. She also criticised our first speaker's crunched up cards, saying that that can't be an example of art at all because it was rejected by the art community. I don't remember that happening. When did somebody from the art community come in here and reject it personally? No. This is akin to saying all art has some form of merit, which makes this whole debate a nonsense in the first place. What's the point of addressing modern art specifically? We defined and maintain this definition that art is a visual expression. My first speaker was definitely visually expressing himself, but it didn't have merit, and that's what this is all about. They've also said that authorial intent is important and cannot be separated from the piece itself. The best critics of all forms of art, not just visual, but also literary, stage, say that authorial intent must always be ignored. Because who's going to explain it once the author's dead? The point here is that the art that's truly meritorious is the art that explains itself. The art that we don't need to look at what the author was thinking at the time. The art which we can look at and we can understand it. They've also used Pollock's example of blue poles of the strangeness wearing off. Yes, this is exactly what we're saying. Over time, the strangeness of modern art wears off and it comes to be accepted and loved, and then it has merit. But in the meantime, it doesn't, and by the time it has merit, it is no longer modern art. The debate today is that modern art has merit, not that it might have merit someday or it will have merit, that it has merit. And even then, there's no way of proving beyond the shadow of a doubt that modern art will one day have merit. Probably will, but it can't be proved today. They also spoke about the fact that you need to understand modern art. You need to have some inside of it. They said it's like saying anyone can speak French, but not doing it yourself. This is our point. What modern artists are doing is trying to speak French to an audience that only knows English. Would anybody say there's merit in that? No, there's not. It's a waste of time. Ladies and gentlemen, the topic of today's debate has been that modern art has merit, and we, the negative team, believe this to be false. Our first speaker, Jack, spoke of the fact that modern art fails as a form of expression because in our current culture, it is not understood to express or communicate anything. He also spoke of the fact that often it is the idea or philosophy behind modern art as opposed to the actual piece of art itself that has merit. Our second speaker, Johnson, reminded you that merit is something that is accumulated over time, and by the time that merit has been accumulated, the art is no longer modern. He also pointed out that nearly all well-known pieces of modern art are not famous but infamous. They are remembered for the controversy they invoke, not the merit they contain. Thus, we have proved beyond reasonable doubt that modern art does not have merit. Salvador Dali hit the nail on the head when he said, "This grandiose tragedy we call modern art." Thank you.
SA. So I'd like to congratulate both teams for getting this far. It's, as you know, a pretty hard slog. You have to be very conscientious, do a lot of research to get to this stand. So congratulations to both teams for coming thus far. It was a split decision between the adjudicators. It was a 4-1 decision. So I would like to congratulate the negative team.
I call upon a member of the runner-up team from Glenunga International High School to give a vote of thanks.
And we would like to thank the chairman, the timekeeper, and all the adjudicators for all the times that you adjudicated. And we'd like to thank the opposite team because you guys are really great. We'd like to thank all the parents and everyone's come out here to support us today, and everyone that's worked so hard to make this year really great for us debaters. So thank you.
I call upon a member of the winning team from Unley High School to second that vote of thanks.
Right, well, I would like to thank everyone for coming out this morning to hear the debate. I'd like to thank you for chairing the debate, for timekeeping, and of course our panel of adjudicators for deciding the debate, and to the opposing team for putting up such a good case for us to rebut. That was of course a tricky one, definition debate. I'd also like to thank the coaches and Debating SA for making this season possible, and my fellow debaters, those debating with me today and those not. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attendance. I